Hi, Paulie here. Tequila. Dun, 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 dun. So, old school versus new school. Old school style games tend to be extremely simple. There will be core mechanisms which can be explained in a nanosecond, and things are expressed more as theatre of the mind. There is a new school style which seems to largely be sprung from computer games, so you can all beat me up from that since I was the one inventing the things back in the 80s, where you get set actions and moves that you can do. So it's not, things tend to be systemized and put in boxes. Now this can make it very clear and easy to play in some ways. It defines very much what you can and can't do. Not so much hand waving and but I wanna. On the other hand, it can kind of restrict imagination and so on. There is a balance that can be found, and some people are doing it. There's been a new game come out, and often I'm not impressed by some of the design on some of the new games that come out. They're like a bit clunky. This one, however, is something pretty special. This is called Ironsworn, and I think you should have a look. This is a new game. It's not often that I find games that are completely new in their outlook of both mechanics and in their intent. This one is actually amazing. To a brief skim, you might find that it looks a little bit complex as far as the rules go. They're actually not. It's deceptive. You just have to breathe, people, breathe. This can also be played solo, which is quite rare. And so that makes it a real gem. It's designed to play solo. Sounds weird, but you actually really can. There's some really good supplements for this, by the way. But the other thing it's really useful for is for doing like playing online. Because you've got these kind of set moves and activities that you can do in this thing, it's quite easy to ask people to select from them. So, Ironsworn. The idea is, this is a very kind of Viking-ish setting. So, can sometimes set some alarm bells from me because of our friends in the right wing, but this isn't. The idea is this designer wants this kind of storm-swept, very low on resources area, and the reason they want that is to make it interesting for you to journey around. And things go by oaths, so the idea is you're in a society that's not literate, so things come off your personal honour and your oaths. When you swear to things, it's your word, and you're held to that. Iron sworn, you swear upon your piece of iron that you shall do it. And this is kind of where a big chunk of the game background comes from. You swear oaths, and these are tasks that you set yourself. And as you create characters, you set up initial oaths. Part of your backstory has this. So you might have just been someone that was raised. You don't know where you came from, you're found as a baby or something. You might make an oath, I will try and find my origins, where I came from. Or you might have fled because these terrible people destroyed your village. I will find them and I will get my revenge. Or it could be, there's a terrible plague. I swear I'll try and find some way of saving them. I'll try and find those people who kidnapped my lost sister. Whatever, you set up these oaths. Now, the system, it's actually way simpler than you think. So, we can really just cover the core system on these 2 pages. You've got this rather nice thing. You've got D10s and a D6. The D6, he calls it the action dice here. But what you do is, you have a skill number, and you're adding it to the roll of this dice. And that number there is giving you the target number that you're rolling the 2d10 against. You roll all 3 at once. If one of these d10s comes in equal to or less than the final sum of that d6 with your skill. So if I've got 3 skill and I roll a 6, 9. If one d10 comes up as a 9 or less, that's a weak hit. If 2 of the d10s come within that band, that's a strong, powerful hit. If neither of them come within that band, it's a flop. That's it. It hasn't worked. So actually pretty simple mechanism. You just pick up these 3 dice together, roll, and what have I got? I've got 2 skill, all right. I've rolled a 6-sided dice, it's got a 2 in it, all right, 4. Look for 4s or less on the 2d10s. They've got this little mechanism for telling you for each action that you're rolling that for, what those results mean. What does the failure mean? What does a really bad failure mean? So you're looking for where the two d10s match, and if they match and it's a success, then that's like extra success. If they match and it's a fail, then that's a major failure. So again, it's all done in that one pickup of the dice and toss. So pretty simple, just look for pairs. So it's not as complex a system as you might mean. There's this mechanism called momentum. As you are progressing in a quest, you get momentum, which makes it more and more easy for you to go on. So if I am trying to find someone and I have met some travelers and they've given me some answers to my questions, I get some momentum. If I'm searching around trying to find this lost sister and I find some clues that might show that they've gone this way, that way, that's still more momentum. And that momentum hooks into my dice rolls as I follow this particular quest. So momentum is a number that I tick up, and if I wish to activate my momentum, I can basically make any dice of that level or less successes. But this kind of whittles my momentum down, so I have to use it as a resource that I manage. As I do contributory tasks to my main task, I can build up my momentum. Again, it's in there in the description for all the different moves that you can make. So momentum is a second mechanism you've got to keep a watch for. And then the final real central one is progress tracks. Ding! So what they do is, it's a line of boxes and this is your quest. And as you achieve things, you're basically crossing off these boxes. There's a slightly complex way. You sort of like, you do a left cross, a right cross, a vertical cross, and that fills an entire box. So each of these has got 3 things. But when you filled out this whole thing, your quest now is at its climactic end. You can have ticks added and removed as you do different actions, so it progresses up and back. So what happens is, a lot of these tasks that you're doing, you're heading towards essentially an ultimate dice roll, and this is why you can use this solo if you need to. But this also runs for any task, works for combat as well. So what you do is, you have this task, you're rolling, you're trying to build up momentum, which is essentially a big success bonus to it, and in the end you roll to see, as you've gotten to the end of this progress bar, have I achieved my quest? Take all of these bonuses that you've kept and you've hoarded and whatever, and make the big roll and see, did you succeed or not? Major success, but meh. So you can end up with success, but there are complications. There is a partial success, but there's more to do. Failure, you just haven't gotten there. So now we get more progress track you've got to go on, or absolute failure, you've been on a wrong track the whole time. You've got to sort of go back and rethink and start again. For combat, this works the same way. If you're nose to nose in combat, it's a progress track. As you're doing cut, parry, dodge, hit, and rolling, you're getting momentum to try and achieve the result you want, which might be, I wish to kill him, or it might be, I wish to chase them off, or it might be, I wish to kind of, seize this guy so that I can interrogate him and get what he knows. But you attempt to make that final result thing, but you're looking for as much momentum and as many bonuses as possible to make that roll a success. So pretty easy. Look, there's a series of interesting mechanisms. You get bonds with people, which are also done as a little progress track. As you keep coming back into a village or a town, as you meet people, as you make relationships, as you find lovers or whatever, your bonds to them increase in much the same way. And these bonds give you an asset in that area. Or if they come with you, they give assets to certain skills. You can get companions that are an aid. You can get pets. You can get tools. You can get equipment, which all aid you in very specific ways. And these are all things that you can find. You can gain bonds to these things, which are great. There are other characters that can come in. So it's a really good system. It's got that frightening kind of, it's outside of the normal boundaries of what you expect. So you got moves, you got these kind of, all these moves that you can make then, where it defines what these are. And again, that's a very modern game design thing to do, as I said, but it's not too scary. My move might be, face the danger. I'm going to stand there, I'm going to front this thing. Or I'm going to try and secure an advantage. I'm going to look for better ground. I'm going to, creep up in the thing, whatever. I can come into a town. What move are you making? Gather information. I'm just going to wander around. I'm going to try and find out if anyone's seen these guys I'm looking for. Or, that is a move you can do in town. Or in town you might say I'm going off to carouse, or I'm going to find a place to hole up and heal, or I'm going to try and pray. These are all just moves, and the reason they're separated into moves is they've all got that different list of what's my success, what's my fail, what's my major success in them, and that will give you momentum towards your quest and so on. So that's why they've separated them up. It's not limiting if you kind of open your mindy poos. Now, a mechanism that must have driven this poor designer out of their gourd is oracles. Because this thing's designed for solo play, or because it can be a little bit vague as to whether you've had a major loss or you've had a major success, they've got all these different oracle tables that you can roll on. Consult the oracle. If you haven't got an umpire that's making up a story or following a set story, or if the umpire just wants some help, for each of these different kind of moves and situations, they've got these huge oracle charts that you can roll on. So it's like, I'm trying to search for information and so on. All right, well, you've had a major success. All right, consult the oracle, and there's this chart that will tell you what kind of successes and so on it might be. Very, very clever. But this can even go down to oracles of I'm trying to actually consult an oracle. I'm trying to get a vision of where to go next. These oracle charts, they work for everything, for fighting, for traveling. It's a wonderful piece of work, but oh wow, it's really taken a ton of work to do this. So this guy's done a staggering job. Now, what I was saying about the right wing, Viking settings are notorious for right-wingers using them as essential whistleblowers for angry white guys only. So look, as you look through the artwork in this, what they've done is they've done a good job actually taking reenactors and photographing them. So this is real people in, you know, reenactment gear and so on, photographed and somewhat photoshopped. Because it's a Viking setting, we have lots of stern white guys wandering around with, you know, Viking shields and swords and whatever. However, they've also put their share of kind of cool stern Asian women and some cool stern Native Americans and so on. So all right, they have tried within that kind of Viking-y boundary they set themselves. They've tried to be as diverse as they can without getting too silly. So we do have some, you know, interesting character depictions, people of colour and so on. So don't walk away from it just because it's of the setting. So look, there are lots of background books that they've done for this which have more oracles and so on in them, and more assets like companions and so on. This is really worth taking a look at. Look, I don't know if it would be everyone's cup of tea, but that very nice way of getting the storyline of the quests kind of put in these progress charts and having the momentum, and then taking that momentum away from you at times, like, oh, you've got to go back, you've got to, if you lunge in now, this isn't going to work, you're going to have to prepare your ground better. That's a nice mechanism, that really is. Now, these guys are doing a science fiction version at the moment. That is also looking really good. Really keen to see what they come up with, because I haven't seen a lot of really good new work in science fiction gaming for a while now. It's much the same. Are you taking your lead off kind of Star Warsy stuff, or, you know, Firefly stuff, or, you know, what's your trope? These guys might be more of that kind of stern, go forth and do things kind of background that they've kept in here. It's looking good, so keep an eye out for the space version of this. But Ironsworn, take a look at it. Don't be afraid of those mechanisms. As I said, they're really pretty damn simple, and they are expressed graphically with a great deal of clarity. The artwork and the layout it uses flowcharts and so on, so you'll get it. You won't get lost in the system. Take a look at it. It's actually innovative new work in role-playing system design along lines that we haven't really seen before, and for that alone the designer needs to get a huge amount of kudos. However, I think what they've also done is make a very playable game in a very unique setting that might actually give people a real challenge. So that's absolutely 2 thumbs up to this one. Ironsworn, go ahead and take a look. Cheers.